Well, it's 7:01. Let's call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We've got, let's see, Linda, Tom, Joe, Jean, Katie. We've got Erica. And me. We're all here.
Full house.
Perfect.
Wow.
Pardon? All right. So let's get on with, we've got 2 transfers to do. So Chief, would you like to start us off? You have to unmute first. Tracy, can you unmute the chief?
That work?
Yes.
Yeah, it came up saying the host had to unmute me, which never happens. I can see the reluctance there. Such control to have. Yeah, thank you for inviting me on here. And yeah, I'll just go over quickly what we're looking for with the transition going on at the PD here. There's some movement and some vacancies that we have to address. One of them, the most prominent one, is the sergeant's position that has been vacated. And we have the actual the great problem of several candidates for this position. We have a good pool of viable candidates that would do a phenomenal job in that position. And to that end, we want to put in place an assessment board to vet out unbiased, outside the department evaluation and process to determine a list of a ranking list for who would be the best candidate for this now vacant position. I've vetted out a few agencies. BadgeQuest rises to the top. We've used them before, about 10 years ago now, and we're very happy with the product. And talking to other departments in the area that have used them feel the same way. I'll give you a quick overview of what we'll be looking for and what this money would be going to. There's 2 phases of the assessment process. One is the written examination, and is also then the assessment center itself. The written examination basically weeds out is the first pass. You pass the you pass the written exam, and then you can move to the next level. It's very unique how BadgeQuest facilitates this. It's a 100-question exam that they construct based proprietarily on our community, our policies and procedures, our demographics. Mass general laws is a very big component. Constitutional law is a very big component. So they constructed very proprietarily, again, to our department. And then the applicants that pass that level, then they go to the assessment board. There's a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of interviewing process. There's a lot of decision making analysis that they're put to. And resultant of this examination and this process, what they'll provide us is a ranked list of candidates that they'd recommend for this position. What we're going to get for this fee is a list that it would have a life. We can delegate the amount of years we want this to be a viable list. Usually 3 to 5 years is pretty industry standard. This list will be viable for the next 3 to 5 years for other vacancies that we anticipate might be coming up. There are some other people reaching a retirement age. There's other movement that might be happening in that time frame. So we want to be prepared for that and not have to revisit this again in the next few years. So for those reasons, I'm asking for that transfer. The total is $8,950 for the 2 parts. The first is $2,500 for the written exam processing, and then the $6,450 is for the actual assessment process. This was an unforeseen. The request wasn't budgeted because this is the timing of this needed adjustment to the department was not factored to be this early. So it did kind of this situation developed a little unexpectedly, but so that's where we're at right now. So that's what we're doing.
Chief, how many candidates do you have, and how many of them are in your department now?
All of them in our department. Like I said, it's a great problem to have. We have 6 that I expect would be viable, and again, a great problem to have. I'm so fortunate that any one of them could do a fantastic job. So we're in good shape. So I'm happy for that.
Okay, so it's all internal.
All internal.
So what about backfilling those positions?
Well, that's like the next step. We are actually doing a reconstruction of our scheduling that's going to hopefully alleviate some of that. Basically, what it is the staffing. There is an opening in the staffing, but we're going to be able to absorb that right now with our reserve officers until we reevaluate that. There are some adjustments we're making, but the first thing, the priority, is getting our supervisory cadre back in place. So there will be a void in a position, but it's not immediate right now. I'm not concerned about that right now.
Go ahead, Gene. You're muted.
Still muted.
Or someone, whoever. We only got a letter. Is there a transfer form request somewhere, Tracy? Maybe?
I have the transfer form request.
Okay, because the letter reads 8,850. And you said 8,950. I assume it's the 950.
Yeah.
Must have been.
I see. Yeah, I have it up. That's my error. I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
Yep, I see it up in the heading and I have the wrong number. I'm sorry.
Okay, I have another question. Is there a psychological assessment in that assessment?
Well, there is a psychological assessment for every hire that we do. So there is a psychological on file. And as part of the assessment itself, I don't know if there's an actual specific component of that. I can find that out for you. That doesn't sound familiar to me as a component.
Ultimately,
When I read this, one of the things that they put in there was, and I took this as that assessment on an unnumbered page, but they talk about knowledge, skills, ability, and personal characteristics. And I thought the personal characteristics sounded a whole lot like a character assessment.
I would
Because
agree.
what else are you going to put in there? If you-
right, it could
You've
be.
already got the skills and knowledge.
Sounds like that, yep.
Tom, were you involved in any of this kind of stuff?
Was I? Yes.
Can you give a little?
Oh. What I was asked the chief was chief, if they go forward with this, what's the timeline for setting it up and giving them enough time to actually start to study for this exam?
Industry standard, I asked the same question of Badge Quest. They like to go, 6 weeks minimum of time to prepare, give them the itinerary. But it could be up to 3 months by the time it's done. It's a wide scope there, as I'm sure you've gone through them too. I have not really gone into the weeds with Badge Quest and what they recommend. I would like it to be expedited as quickly, but as efficiently and fairly as possible. So I'd be really depending on their experience to guide me in the timeframes.
Right, just given the fact that you can ask them for study and you can ask them for a lot of study material.
Mhm.
There's gonna be enough time in there, obviously, to take and allow them to be proficient in what they're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's all considered in the next step when I get, I meet with them, providing, there's an approval and, and actually set up the posting, the timeframes, the curriculum, what the itinerary is, what they need to know for study material, and all that has to come out.
Now, is there interviews as part of this with you afterwards?
Yes.
Okay. Marshall, to your question to me, yes, I've been involved in it in the past, but most of ours dealt with civil service, so the standard was pretty standard. You had 3 candidates you could pick from, and at that point, they'd already done a state test versus a private test because we were civil service versus there being a town, they're not part of the civil service process.
Mhm.
Ultimately, what they're doing or what they're asking to do is the same thing that would have happened with a civil service department where you would have scheduled an exam, come up with the study material, and then at some point, find those that have passed it, go through the interview process, and at that point, find the best candidate for the position.
Okay. Now, I understand, Chief, that one of these candidates is related to you.
Yes, sir. Well, I assume, I mean, whether or not he pursues it, but I would expect that he would be interested as well, which is another reason why I'm so glad we have the opportunity to push it to an
So-
assessment board.
Go ahead, Gene.
Question. Ultimately, though, you make the recommendation. I assume.
Well, the way I would see this playing out is we get the list. I'm going to be weighing very heavily on the opinion of my deputy chief. I want no appearance of any impropriety. I would expect I'd be eliciting the opinion of the town administrator. There's certain steps that to try to distance any appearance of any impropriety, and there's plenty of resources to do that. But it is something absolutely that I weighed into the decision to definitely go in this comprehensive process and have it not something a localized born entity that's going to be doing it. They're South Shore. They don't know me. They don't know my department. They don't know this this general area other than what my deputy chief will be constructing to put together our proprietary program. And actually, it's a good point too. The other thing I'd like to add to that is when I did talk to the president of this company, I explained that concern. And he said, this is so industry standard. It's something they deal with all the time. I don't want to know the questions. I don't want to know, the structure or any of that. That's all going to be handled by my deputy chief.
That sort of answers my question, but they're ranking these. That's what you said.
Correct.
You're not bound to take number one or you could take number 5 if you felt.
Everything has to be, yes, but I'd have to
You
put
have
it
to
right.
make a recommendation.
Yeah.
Isn't that your job?
Yes, absolutely. And,
Okay.
but that would have to,
That's all.
yeah, but it would have to, there would have to be very solid reasons why. I'd
Sure.
have to be able to defend that. Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's all.
Not just, I can't just arbitrarily, I would never just arbitrarily.
No, I understand.
I think in having gone through this as well, it's not so much the picking, but it's the afterward, were you to work in that direct line of command, that you have to be doubly careful.
Mhm.
And so recognizing that, I'm sure that you will be, because if you aren't, you will pay just mightily.
No, I'm very, very aware and very, very conscious of that. But thank you.
Other questions, comments? Go ahead, Erica.
Just on the financial side of this, so that if someone is ultimately moved up into this rank and we have a vacancy, do we have any idea of kind of what the net impact on the budget number for the police department for the year is going to be? As the salary and wages, it seems like we might be my guess is that it might be actually be lower, but maybe higher if people are stepping in to do overtime to cover shifts. What do we think do we think there's going to be, what the net impact on the budget?
I don't have that number for you, but you did touch right on it. With the realization of the restructuring, we are in, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, better shape that way to absorb this adjustment without any concerns. And with our reserve staffing, I don't have any concerns either, finishing out this year.
Okay.
I think Tracy has a hand up.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think we are going to end up in a good position, but I would just caution you all because police contract negotiations begin in about 3 weeks.
Okay,
Noted. Good to know. Thank you.
I would make a motion. If you're looking for one, Marshall.
I'm looking for one, and I would look for a second, having
I'll
all,
second it.
okay. And we have 7 members. Okay. All those in favor of this?
Aye.
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 Linda,
Aye.
Thank you. It's one we can't see.
Dear God, I gotta get this thing fixed.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any opposed and no abstentions? Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We have number 2 on our reserve request agenda is a request for $17,000 to be transferred to insurance expense. And this is to cover an increase in our insurance.
And that covers property, casualty, and workers' comp.
Okay,
We added a number of nice, brand new shiny fire trucks to our fleet. We've upgraded a lot of our equipment, and we also are adding a building.
Okay. Any questions?
Tracy, so the number that originally was what it started at the beginning of the year. And this added money is because of the upgrades we've done throughout the year. And adding a building.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
thank you.
We budgeted based on last year. I truly didn't know the percentage of completion where we'd be at with the building. We're ahead of what I had figured to be the schedule. I know what had been published, but I'm really impressed with how they've kept it. I think they're actually ahead of schedule. So yeah, it's some of the things are hitting sooner than anticipated. But I think it should level off. And we do see anywhere between a 3 to a 5% increase anyway, annually. But this was more than we had
But
anticipated.
this increase should only be for a half a year, correct?
Increase is for the full year. This increase
Right,
is
but-
based on the bill. I think I sent a copy of the bill, so you
Right,
can
but we're
see.
already halfway through the year, so this is actually, the actual cost is for half of a year. Realistically, it'd be more like 34,000 come next year plus an increase.
We get one billing. And we received the billing and it was about 17,000 higher than we had anticipated it's the billing for the
One
year.
building for the whole year?
Yes, from Maya. We use Maya, Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Agency. We used a private insurer previously, but then we went out to bid and we realized significant savings when we joined Maya, the property and casualty group. But this year, over last year, my projections were off. I thought it would be about a 3% increase and it ended up being about 17,000 more than that. So,
But this is until July 1st.
correct.
Okay.
But Tom, it was billed July 1st as well, so it is for the whole year.
Yes,
I thought it just came in.
Yeah.
Did it just come in?
no, it came
No.
in,
The invoice date was 7/1/2020.
Yep.
and we just had our meeting with our representative last week.
Does Maya still offer any reductions for people having trainings in town?
They sure do, and we take advantage of that every year. We've realized I think the lowest was about $4,000 in credits, and the highest was close to 21,000 in credits. So we have a department manager that keeps track of all the trainings that the employees attend to make sure we get those credits when they're available.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Make a motion?
Second,
Okay. All those in favor, aye?
aye.
Okay. Opposed?
Excuse me, I have to run back to the selectmen's meeting.
Okay, very good.
Bye, Tracy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Okay, no no's and no abstentions. Okay, got that one. out of it. All right, we had we had the minutes from our last meeting that was circulated. Any corrections? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
I make a motion.
Okay.
I'll
a
second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
good. All right. Last time we had a really, I think, good discussion about the future of the master plan. And I did get in touch with Martha. We had set up a meeting and Martha and Peter Pecos and Tracy and I talked about moving forward with the master plan. Right now, and we talked about the fact that when we lost John Weiss, when he moved out of town, that really stopped things there. And so much as KV had mentioned the last time we were together, we do need to get a champion for that particular effort and move that effort forward. It's one of the things that we are supposed to do as a town, not as a finance committee, but it helps us in the finance committee because it gives us the indication as to what the planning of the town is going to be going forward. So Martha was going to send me what was done on the master plan. I have not yet received that. I will follow up with her. And then I'll send it out to everyone on this board so that they can take a look at what has been done. I'll also work with her and identify those areas that we still have to either finish or go back and modify because they've gone a little out of date. So that's what we have for the master plan. And we are in the season of getting our capital requests. We have only gotten one so far, and that was from the DPW. And that was for a new mower. So not bad so far. I sent out our first quarter town expenditure reports. I've gone through it. Everything seems pretty much in line. You know, with the budget 25% expended, there are some things that are higher, some things considerably lower. That's because we haven't spent them yet, but they'll come around. Anybody have any questions or any things that they do like to identify in this expenditure report? No, I thought it was quite straightforward. Okay. Other issues, comments, anything that anyone would like to bring up?
I had one question.
Yeah.
Do we currently have someone that goes to the district communications meetings with school committee and the other boards?
No, we lost.
The DCC?
Lost Paul. Paul
Would
might,
you-
sorry.
Okay, that's what I wanted to check. I know I'm on like I get the distributions for those. I just didn't know if we had someone from the committee. I'm happy to step in and start listen on those. I've
That would be great.
been on a bunch of the school committee calls anyways. So
Why is that?
I'm shocked, Erica, that you are.
I have an opinion about what we should be doing. It's gone to another generation, which in my family would be like the fourth generation of people who speak out. But Cole has started speaking at them as well.
I've been training him.
He's been coming to these meetings for a long time. He shares the office with me. He's usually right there.
I see.
Um,
Okay.
But they don't have homework tonight because they don't have school tomorrow. So
Oh, that's right, holiday.
Veterans Day tomorrow. So
That's right. All right. Well, thank you for stepping up for that.
no problem. That's
Okay. Well, that's all I have for tonight's meeting. So unless anybody, yeah, Gene,
Just quickly, I got something, it looked like town hall.
yes, yes. That was for your information,
Okay,
but what had happened
Yeah.
was the architect had, and I have it over here. The architect had put some renderings together for the select board and
Oh,
presented that
all right.
back in, I think, September. And so I know that some of these things will be coming up, so I just wanted to give you an idea of
Okay.
what had been presented.
All right. I haven't really had a chance to look at it. It's just, but I know it was like 10 or 12 pages of stuff.
Yeah,
14.
it's got 14 pages. It's got different scenarios
Right.
and different levels of building and different
Right.
costs, of course. And looking at the cost, the original cost, they were looking at $350 a foot. Now it's up to $500 a foot.
Wow.
I think I know that.
And it's not unusual. I have a good friend who is in the building materials business. His costs for wood, for some of the wood products, have
Yeah.
gone up 400% this year alone.
Oh, yeah.
That's the cost of delay.
Yes,
The more you delay, the more cost, but people don't understand that, I guess.
and that and the demand because of COVID, because people,
Well, that's also a factor, yeah.
it's yeah, the demand has definitely been higher. I mean, even home improvement.
yes, there are things
Can't-
that you can't
just-
find anywhere.
So I shouldn't be doing my kitchen now?
Not if you want a refrigerator. The refrigerators are
I remember to tell Barbara we gotta hold off.
just, yeah, no. They like literally, we've been looking to replace the refrigerator. Luckily, it's not totally dead yet, but in the size we want, there's nothing. And we're looking for like a small size. It's not like we're looking for like anything massive. Like if you really want to go high end, I think you can do it. Like if you go like make a walk-in closet that's a refrigerator, you're good. But
You're looking at 6 months, Erica.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
Crazy.
you probably want that wine section. That's what costs you.
All right, guys.
so-
Time to go.
You've been patiently sitting here watching things go on. Do you have anything that you'd like, any questions? Go ahead.
Marshall, Jim Moran. On the town hall project, the architectural renderings that came out in September, I haven't seen these. Is this a standalone building, just renovating the existing building?
They looked at it two different ways, Jim. One was standalone, or they commented standalone building or renovating the other building, and they said their back of the envelope feeling was it's going to be pretty close to the same amount of money either way they go.
It was pretty
So-
back of the envelope, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean,
Yeah.
they're, so we don't have a recommendation or any movement
Yeah.
beyond
How,
that so far.
how many square feet were you talking about?
Wow.
Since that was done, I think we probably can get those renderings to you.
Around 12,000 square feet.
12,000 is the largest.
Yep.
There's a one that's small but doesn't meet the requirements. So at
Yep.
7,500 square feet, that doesn't even, so that seems like that would not be a wise investment if it doesn't meet the requirements of the space. So
Jim, it looks like 12,665.
So the two proposals are maybe between 8,000 and 12,000 square feet. And either they tear down the existing building and build new, or they renovate the existing.
That's correct.
And these are at maybe $500 a square foot in either case.
Approximately, that's correct.
You can do the math.
So that's $4 million for the small one, for the 8,000 square
They're
foot.
talking 3.7 to 6.3, Jim.
Okay, and the other one is 12,000 square foot at 500 is, so it's a $4 million to $6 million number at present.
Correct.
Does anybody know what the schedule is for the architect to advance this a little further, or who's going to be making those calls?
That would be the select board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is the architect in process of submitting this information to them at present?
That's a question for the select board, Jim.
Okay, they're pretty slick, those guys in the select board.
They're in the other room or wherever they are.
I just left them. I left them after an hour. I needed a sandwich. Bye. Well, that's good. No, I appreciate that feedback. I have one other question on your agenda. It said status of Zoom meetings and their disruption.
Oh.
What's meant by that?
We got Zoom bombed at our last meeting.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
It was,
Okay.
And
it was
Tracy
a little
was
nasty.
gonna correct that somehow. So
Okay.
yeah, it was inappropriate language by a bunch of kids.
Let me ask a general question. A few of my neighbors here in Elm Street have asked me through the years about a sidewalk running from the Triton Regional High School up Elm Street all the way to the academy. Who, if that wanted to be advanced, who would want to be noticed on that, or who would that request want to go into?
That's a really good question.
I would say select,
because-
right?
I want to say selectmen to planning board somewhere.
But
I would think
But-
so.
looking at that, why would be the first question I would ask, because going from Dummer to Triton, there aren't that many homes. And one of the largest collections of homes doesn't have any kids.
Right.
The answer I'd give you on that, Marshall, would be, since I live on Elm Street, the walking traffic here never stops. The bicycle traffic never stops. And the road, particularly when you're coming down the hill, the traffic goes faster than it should. I've seen some close calls, and there is no sidewalk. And you also have walking traffic for the students at the school that come back and forth when they're in school. But there's many people through the day, including myself, that walk there. So the question would be, obviously the town would have to make an evaluation if they thought there was a real need. But
Right.
again, since a few of my neighbors have asked me, I told them I'd just pass that on.
Yeah.
And KV you had talked about that at one point as well. And the question sometimes comes, sidewalks versus making a wider road and lining it off. But maybe you want to talk, because you were talking about Main Street.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this probably just ties right into master plan. Like, what kind of community do we want? I think sidewalks just generally creates a better community for people to interact with each other. people to talk, you'll get more people outside. I know Main Street's super busy. People, I walk up, down, you know, even as a kid, I remember riding my bike down to the mini mart. It just eventually, there's so much traffic. Byfield's not the same town that when I grew up, I'm sure for others, and walking around is, you know, I see less kids out riding their bikes and walking through town, or less families with their pushing the carriages and the babies. And, you know, I just think that it's a better sense of community as you start to do that. That's just my opinion. And and I think it links to the master plan. What kind of community do we want to be? So.
Sure. And there is a little, is there a sidewalk across from your house, Katie?
There is. It actually goes from, I think it's Great Rock, down a little bit past my house, and then it just stops. I don't know why it ever stopped.
Yeah.
Because
Because I went out and rode past both your houses today. For the bicycles, having a little more room on the road works well.
As I say, Scotland, as someone who runs down Scotland, I avoid Highfield like the plague, because that on a bike or on foot is treacherous. It's actually, now that it's paved, it's nicer to drive on, but now but Scotland with the wide shoulders is definitely feels like I feel safer having my kids on bikes on that than I do having them go anywhere on Highfield.
I don't like driving on Highfield. It's scary.
But I'm really excited about anything to help connect the two ends of the rail trails,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
towards Jean's neck of the wood, which
I was
down
just gonna
that,
make that comment, and Jim raises.
that's a
actually-
huge one.
Jim raises a good point. There needs to be, I remember a few years back, we did an assessment of our roads. And there may need to be an evaluation done, an assessment done of what areas do we need to look at for doing a sidewalk. Erica mentioned Parker Street. Somebody's gonna get killed, without a doubt. They're currently finishing the Newburyport piece. But there's still about 100 yards in Newbury. I understand there's a grant.
There's a grant which would be a great
But-
way to access that funds. But I think that would be wet money, that's such a great resource, and to connect those two pieces in a way that's safe is.
Yeah. Anyway, it's something that needs, good point, good question, Jim, really.
There's
Gene's interesting commentary, and according to the master plan, like you've done with roads here in the past 5 or 10 years on repaving, sidewalks, you want to transition from paving into a sidewalk plan, and 10 years from now, I think you'd be very pleased with some improvements on sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll,
Select board, I think, and planning.
Yeah,
but it's, looking at some of the ones down in Topsfield on Route 1, they have a crossing that automatically flashes when there's someone coming down that trail, and it does a pretty good control job.
Yeah.
yep, the Newbury, the one that crosses over Parker does that too.
Yeah.
If you're even walking on the trail that goes to the train station. By Mark Ritchie, that one does flash when traffic's coming, either when you're on the trail, which is nice, just to even be able to cross Parker.
All right. All right, well, thank you all, and, Jean,
Move to adjourn. You
Second,
want a motion to adjourn?
okay. All those in favor? All right,
I,
thanks for joining us, Jim.
Thank you very much. Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
Have a
Bye.
good night.
See you guys.
take care. Stay well.